So welcome back to the sanctuary, folks. We have another great guest. I think many of you will be familiar with Chad Bird. Today we're going to be discussing Chad Bird, Limping with God. And Chad has taken the biblical character of Jacob. I'm sure everybody has heard of, Jacob's ladder or Jacob's stairway to heaven and Jacob wrestling with the angel. But we're really going to drill down and let Chad just really illuminate some of the scriptures. I know when I read the book, there were so many things I thought, I know this story. What's Chad going to bring to the table on this one? But I really learned a whole lot and looking at it from a different perspective. So, Chad, I appreciate you coming on the program
again,
brother.
So, happy to be here.
Yeah. So I guess first of all, why did you pick Jacob? I mean, the guy's a liar, a cheat. I don't know if he would be my friend. I don't know if I'd want to have business dealings with him.
Yeah, and actually, the reasons you just mentioned are some of the reasons that I actually wanted to write a book about him. So a number of years ago, we in our podcast, we went over the book of Genesis, and we covered all of Jacob's life. And I remember even then, this is probably 8-9 years ago, thinking it would be fascinating to actually just sit in his life for a number of months, maybe even a year, and just reflect upon him as a person, where he fits into the salvation story, and the ups and downs of his life, his trickery, his shady business dealings, the way that he interacts with God. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that isn't just because he's a curious and fascinating person,
Yeah.
But the subtitle of the book kind of says it all. So this is messy discipleship, right? So what does it mean by messy discipleship? Well, it's the kind of discipleship that Jacob had, a messy life with himself, his relationship with God, his marriages to 4 different women, all the issues he had with his kids, with his father-in-law. And I see a lot in Jacob that each of us, in our own sort of way, can see reflected in our own lives. Yeah. So rather than picking kind of like the cream of the crop in the Old Testament, the person we might think of as really emblematic of fidelity, I thought, well, let's pick someone with a lot of warts, a lot of issues, personal and familial, that we can actually see ourselves in. And at the same time, then see how the grace of God was so active in Jacob's life, so that we can better understand how he's active in our lives as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, the title "Limping with God." That title kind of jarred me. The subtitle, and in Genesis, I believe it says, so and so walk with God, and so and so walk with God, or we're supposed to walk with God, but limping with God. It's a different take, isn't it?
It is, yeah. In fact, I guess any author does this, but I'm thinking about the book, and I start to brainstorm titles. And walking with God is one of the things I thought about. It's a very biblical image.
Yeah.
And then I thought of that most famous scene where Jacob is wrestling, and he limps away from that.
Love it.
And I thought, that would probably be a better image, not just to reflect Jacob's life, but to reflect the lives of every disciple. I mean, with rare exceptions, people aren't sprinting through the Christian life.
Right.
They're not even necessarily walking, but they're limping. They're just kind of hobbling and crawling along because we're beset by weakness. Yeah. We're attacked by temptation. We have our own wounds and scars, and so this becomes a way in which we can understand what it's like, what the Christian life is like.
So you kind of break this up into like 4 different quarters of Jacob's life. So I love how you come up with these titles. The first one, of course, we know about the birth, and it's called The Brothers Harry and Hill. So great job on being creative in that. That's a new one for me. But tell us maybe about this period in Jacob's life.
Yeah, so one of the unique features of Jacob's life is that his entire life is that you meet him literally in utero.
Yes.
And then you follow his life all the way to his death as an old man in Egypt. So that sets him apart with all the biblical characters because we know him literally from womb to tomb.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to follow in his life. But we do meet him when he's in utero, and already he's fighting. He's already wrestling. He's a twin, and so he's jostling back and forth with his brother. In fact, the Hebrew verb that's used there isn't the kind of regular movement maybe that a mother would feel in her womb. It's more just like this hitting together. It's like the brothers are fighting already, which is indicative of the kind of personality that Jacob would have and the relationship we'd have with his brother.
It's kind of prophetic.
It is prophetic, yes. It's also prophetic how they're born. So his brother comes out first. Esau comes out first. And he's probably not the prettiest baby. He's covered in red hair.
Yeah.
And so the Hebrew word for hair sounds somewhat similar to Esau, and so that's what they name him. And then as soon as he's coming out of the womb, there's a tiny hand that is holding on to his heel, which in Hebrew is akev. That's the Hebrew word for heel. And so he was named heel, or as we would say it in Hebrew, Yaakov, which is Jacob, as we say it in English. So his name actually means heel. So the brothers, hairy and heel. And their birth is prophetic too. First of all, because Esau comes out first, he's firstborn. Means he's the privileged child. He's going to be the one who is going to inherit twice what anyone else does in the family. He's also basically going to be in charge of the family when his dad decides to either die, when his dad dies, or he hands over that responsibility to his son. So Jacob is born second, and that means that at least if things go according to tradition, he will not be the head of the family. But this is the important point to know about this whole womb wrestling and the birth scene.
Yeah.
While his mother is pregnant, so while Rebekah is pregnant, she inquires of God as to why she's feeling this fight inside her. And God tells her, he says, well, the reason you're experiencing this is that really two nations, two peoples are in your womb. Not just two children, but two children that will become nations. And the older shall serve the younger.
Yeah.
So there's going to be this divine switch that we see so often in the scriptures. So we're clued in, and mom is clued in right from the beginning, that even though Jacob is born second, God's design is for him to move to first place. Now, God doesn't specify how that's going to happen. He doesn't give instructions on how this is to happen. He just says, this is what's going to happen. So that's the way the story all starts. And you can already tell just on those basic details, there's going to be a lot of tension. There's going to be a lot of surprise. There's going to be a lot of growth that takes place as these boys grow up. So the next scene that we encounter is actually the two of them. We don't know how old they are at this point, but we learn that Esau is kind of Esau's a man's man.
Yeah, he's a hunter, isn't he?
He's a hunter.
Yeah.
So he drives a pickup, for sure.
For sure.
She's got a pickup. He's got probably more guns than any person really needs.
Yeah.
He loves camo. You know where he's going to be the opening day of deer season. He's that guy, right?
He is.
I mean, everything about him says, all right, this is a true masculine, outdoorsy kind of guy.
And that makes him special to his father.
To his father,
who likes good food.
Yes. That's one of the kind of
feed my belly, bro.
That's one of the funny things about Esau is we learn that he's Isaac's favorite because of the game. Isaac is a guy who loves venison, and so he loves his son who brings home plenty of that venison. Jacob, on the other hand, he's kind of a mama's boy. He's a shepherd. We know that because he's described as he's living in tents, and that's kind of biblical shorthand for a shepherd. And we know later in his story that's what he ends up being. So we have a hunter, and we have a shepherd. We have a daddy's boy, and we have a mama's boy. Well, Esau's out hunting one day, but it's a bad day, no luck. So he comes home. He's starving. He's he's a little dramatic because he acts like he's about to die.
Yeah.
But and there's his brother, Jacob, cooking a meal. Mm-hmm. And he says, give me some of that stuff, that red stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, Jacob, we also learned something about him in this whole scenario. Jacob he's also kind of a lawyer in the sense that he knows what to say, when to say it, to get what he wants. So he's going to take advantage of this situation. And he says, okay, I'll make you a deal, more or less. You can have some of this food that I'm cooking if you sell me, basically, give to me your birthright. And Esau, also kind of a passionate man who just kind of makes decisions, says, sure, I'm about to die anyway, who cares? You can have it.
Last meal. I'm
Last meal, that's right. So they make this kind of verbal exchange.
Yeah.
He gets the food, and then Jacob gets kind of half of what he wants. He gets this birthright. Half of what he wants because you really need two things. So you need this birthright, as it were, but you also needed the father's blessing.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to get from your brother, who just kind of makes these decisions.
Sure.
It's one thing to get that from him, but how are you going to get the blessing of your father, especially when you're not daddy's favorite, your mama's favorite? So that gets us into a story that I think people even vaguely familiar with Jacob's life probably know, and this is the great deception.
Yeah, it is.
But what people might not remember is this isn't even Jacob's idea.
No.
It's mom's idea.
Mom, yeah.
So mom overhears a conversation between Isaac and Esau, which Isaac says basically, I'm getting really old. He was pretty much blind by that point. He didn't know how long he was going to live. Yeah. Kind of a humorous aside here. He says, I'm about to die, or I may die soon. He lives at least 20 more years.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Isaac is one of these guys that it's like, he never really understands what's going on. It's like he's a little clueless. Mm-hmm. All the things we know about Isaac, he just, even that famous scene where Abraham's taking him up to sacrifice him, Isaac doesn't even realize what's going on. That seems to characterize his life. So here, he thinks he's going to die. So he tells Esau, hey, go hunting, bring me back the game, and make it for me the way I like it, and I'll bless you.
You get the blessing.
You get the blessing. Mm-hmm. Well, he doesn't realize this, but listening at the tent is Rebecca.
Little eavesdropping.
Yeah, a little eavesdropping. So she overhears this. And personally, I think she has been planning this for some time.
Yeah.
I don't think this was a spur-of-the-moment decision.
No.
As soon as Esau gets his bow and arrows and heads out to the field, she calls her favorite son, Jacob, and says, listen, here's what's going on, recounts the conversation. Here's what you need to do. This is Mama taking over the situation.
Yeah.
Go out, get some of the livestock, kill it. I'll cook it up so it tastes like your dad likes it. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to get some of your brother's clothes, go to his closet. I'm going to get some of his camo gear, whatever he wears. I'm going to put it on you. Then I'm going to take the skin from the animal that we kill. I'm going to put that on your hands and on your neck so you feel hairy. Yeah.
Going all out.
She's going all out. Going to get the whole disguise. So I like to refer to this as the first recorded instance of identity theft.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So one little detail that's important to understand here too is that Jacob questions his mother, but he doesn't question her about the ethics of this whole scenario, about the morality of it. All he's worried about is getting caught.
Yeah.
He's afraid he's going to appear to be a deceiver, which I think you would probably appear to be a deceiver if you were impersonating your brother. Well, he goes in, they get the food, gets his brother's disguise on, goes in. And the only thing that he can't really prepare for, he's got taste down, he's got touch down, he's got all of this, doesn't have to worry about sight because his dad can't see, but he can't control what his dad hears. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as Jacob comes in, Isaac is immediately wary because he hears the voice. And he's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Because Jacob immediately begins to claim he's Esau, but I mean, Isaac has been hearing his sons their whole life. He knows this is the voice of Jacob. Mm-hmm. But after he questions him several times, and every time Jacob replies, I'm Esau, finally Isaac relents. And he pronounces the blessing upon Jacob, the blessing of the firstborn. Now, the thing to know about blessings in the ancient world is you can't unbless someone. So if you're blessed, if a blessing is pronounced upon you, you can't go back and unbless that blessing. It's given. Mm-hmm. So he has received this blessing. Later, after Esau comes in from the field and makes his dish and he goes in to see his dad, then we have this whole scene where there's a recognition as to what's taken place. And both father and son, both Isaac and Esau, are extremely distraught over what's happened. But Isaac realizes he can't take the blessing back. It's already been given to Jacob. Now, some people might be saying, yeah, but isn't this exactly what God said was going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this a fulfillment of prophecy? Well, it is, and it isn't. It is in the sense of, yes, God did tell Rebekah that this is precisely what would happen, that the older would end up serving the younger. But God didn't say, hey, the way I want you to do this is by lying and deceiving and taking matters into your own hands and coming up with this whole messy family situation now.
Taking the Lord's name in vain.
Taking the Lord's name in vain, which is what Jacob does at one point too. He says to his dad, well, the Lord made this happen. That's how it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
So I like to look at that whole chapter with that whole narrative and say, this is a great case where we see God's will being done, but it's done in the midst of a messy, sinful situation within a family. I mean, that can be replicated a million times over in the history of the world.
Oh, yeah.
God is providentially shepherding events, making sure that what he wants to happen is going to happen, that's going to be for the further good of the world. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he's using bad instruments to make this happen. Yes. He's using sinners to make this happen. So, of course, you're going to have these kind of situations that crop up. But that's where you're like, well, thanks be to God that ultimately we're not in charge of world history. We're not in charge of the way that God providentially works these things out. He does that, and we trust him to bring good out of even the worst of situations.
I think even before we get further into this, his life is, to me, it's just so. We have these biblical characters. I think, I grew up in church tradition, and it's almost like they were sanitized. Mm-hmm. They were so, we're going to leave this part out about him lying and taking the Lord's name in vain. Yes. And all this. And,
yes.
We're presented with, Jacob is caught up, he has this vision or dream and, the staircase to heaven and so forth. And really these biblical characters are just as flawed as you can get. Mm-hmm. And to me, as I'm older, it gives me maybe hope and know that the grace of God and the mercy of God, despite all of the times when we have screwed up, when we have made mistakes, when we've done things that we know that were wrong, that God is still rich in mercy, and he doesn't just toss us aside and say, I'm done with you, Ken, or I'm done with you, Chad. He just keeps working with us where we're at.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better. That's one of the beautiful things about the Bible is there is no attempt to sanitize the biblical characters. We learn things about the biblical characters that really are embarrassing.
They are.
Yeah, but it's right there inked into the very page of Scripture, which is a great encouragement to us. I often joke and say I'm super glad that I did not live during Bible times because I wouldn't want my life recorded in the Bible.
Yeah, right.
But there's plenty of lives of biblical characters that are recorded there. Here's David being a peeping Tom,
Yes.
and then doing what he does with Bathsheba, and then arranging for the murder of Uriah, and then kind of shrugging off the murder like, well, these things happen in war. Yeah. Just a terrible situation, but it's all right there. You have Abraham, the great patriarch, lying about his wife twice, claiming, she's just my sister. And then this with Jacob. Now, these are not even minor characters. These are major biblical characters.
Yeah.
And so I read these lives too, and you don't see there like a justification for sin or an excuse for sin, but what you see there is, to put it in Paul's terms, to use New Testament terminology, you see God justifying the ungodly, right?
Yeah.
He's not picking people who have, as it were, earned his love by this great moral character. He's picking people who are flawed, just like all of us, and he's loving them, he's forgiving them, and he does the same for us in Jesus Christ. So it's a great encouragement to us.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So we move it on. We got the exile.
Yes.
So Esau's a little bit ticked off, which he's got every right to be, I guess. His brother's stolen his birthright, and he's going to kill him.
Yeah.
And Rebecca can't, that'd break her heart. She can't have that. So we got to send the boy off. So maybe take up from there where he's running. And how old was he when he took off on this expedition here?
Yeah, that's one of the fun biblical facts I like to point out. So if you do the math, and you kind of got to work your way backwards. So if you go forward in the story, actually all the way to much later on when he's in Egypt, you learn how old Jacob was at that point and how old his son Joseph is. So this is further in the story. And then you start doing the math backward, you realize a shocking fact.
Yeah.
And I love to do this, especially with in-person events. I'll ask the question, how old do you think Jacob was? Just throw out some numbers. And people will say 30, somebody will say 45, whatever it is. And then I'll pause for a moment and I'll say, he was actually in his mid-70s, which is just always shocking to people.
Yeah.
But that's where he was. And I like to say, now, think about it a minute. He lived a lot longer than most of us do. So this would be the equivalent of kind of midlife. This is like a midlife crisis point for him. So he's mid-70s. You're right. Esau's very angry. So mom says, kind of in her simplicity, she says, well, why don't you just go see my family for a few days? We'll let your brother cool down. I'll let you know when it's safe to come back. Now, little does she know, she's just created a scenario where she will actually never see her son again. Because the few days ends up being 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
And when Jacob finally gets back from that, then his mom has already passed. Only his dad is around. So this will be the last time she actually sees her son. So Jacob's got to take off. And he's got to take off pretty fast. I joke that he's sent off to go find a wife, basically. So, get out of here and, go find a wife. And where do you find a wife in good biblical fashion? At a family reunion. That's where you find your wife. So, like a lot of cultures, ancient and modern, they tended to marry within the broader family circle. I mean, we don't do that, but a lot of ancient cultures and some cultures today still, it's not unusual for there to be cousin marriages and things like that. So he's going to go find a wife. Now, along the way, this is where we have something you referred to at the very beginning of this episode, and that is Jacob's ladder or stairway, which is the first time that God appears to him. So he's heading that way, stops, and finds a campsite, finds a rock to either use as a pillow or beside his head. You could translate that Hebrew either way, but he's asleep.
That'd be a tough pillow for me.
It'd be a tough pillow for me too. I like firm pillows, but not rock tough.
Yeah.
So he's sleeping, and he has this dream. And in this dream, he sees, the Hebrew could be translated as stairway or ladder, probably a stairway that's going up from earth to heaven, and angels ascending and descending on the stairway. And then there's God. And you could translate this Hebrew also a couple different ways. The prepositional phrase could be accurately be translated, the Lord stood above it, meaning above the ladder or the stairway, or beside him. That prepositional phrase can go either way. So above it, top of the ladder, or beside him. Now, that same phrase occurs later in the book of Genesis, and it's clearly beside him in that context. And because of what Jacob says when he wakes up, he says, surely the Lord is in this place, and I didn't know it. Mm-hmm. Because of those two details, I tend to lean toward it being beside him. Whatever you want to go with, God's there. Mm. And maybe he's standing right there by Jacob. And this is the surprise of this whole encounter. Given what we know about Jacob, what we know he's just done, he's taken the Lord's name in vain, he's lied, he's done these terrible things. You would think that he's about to get a divine tongue lashing.
Yeah,
yeah.
Wear him out.
Yeah, what were you thinking, right? Yeah, just really reading the right act. Not a syllable that God speaks is anything of judgment. Mm-hmm. Basically, he just lavishes these promises upon Jacob. More or less saying, I'm going to be your God. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to keep you safe. I'm going to bring you back home. I'm going to give this land to you. More or less, he took the promises that God gave to Abraham and then to Isaac, and he now gives them to Jacob.
Yeah.
And he says, more or less, I'm going to do everything necessary to be with you and to bring you back here. Not a word of rebuke, which is surprising to us, and to some extent, actually almost scandalous to us. Like, why would you bless such an undeserving sinner? And then we have to stop.
I wonder how Esau would have felt about that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Sure.
You know, his perspective.
Yeah.
God, you're going to do what?
Yeah. Reminds me of a story that Jesus once told about an older brother and a younger brother. And the older brother was not very happy when the younger brother was lavish with such grace. Yeah.
Didn't deserve any of it.
Didn't deserve any of it. And I love to point out that story because I think it's a great example of what mercy and grace really are. I mean, we typically like to say, okay, mercy is when you don't get what you have coming.
Right.
And grace is what you get when you, whatever the opposite of that is.
Yeah,
I lost my train of thought.
But
that's grace and mercy, right?
Yeah.
Grace you don't deserve, and mercy you don't get what you do deserve.
Yeah, judgment.
And this is exactly what was given to Jacob. And it's exactly what's given to us. That is what the gospel is. We, thankfully, when Jesus comes to us, we don't get what we have coming. We don't deserve. We get his love and his grace and his forgiveness. So that whole scene happens. And just as kind of a sidebar to that, for those who like to compare Old Testament to New Testament,
sure.
Take that story sometime and go to the very end of John chapter 1.
Yeah.
And this is where Jesus, talking to Nathanael, says that Nathanael's impressed because of what Jesus told him. He says, oh, well, Jesus says,
you ain't seen nothing yet.
You've seen nothing yet. Yeah. You will see the angels of God ascending and descending, not on a ladder, but he says upon the Son of Man. Now, when you hear about angels ascending and descending, if you know your Bible, of course, it immediately goes back to this scene with Jacob, and you make the connection. You're like, oh, so Jesus is saying he is the ladder or the stairway, the bridge between earth and heaven. He's what joins God to us. So in that one little verse from John, at the very end of John's gospel, this is one way that you can connect Christ to the Old Testament.
Yeah, amen.
So anyway, Jacob now has, God speaks to him, gives him these great promises. And God does it, by the way, when he's asleep. That way Jacob can't talk. I'm gonna address him when he can't say anything, which was a very wise divine choice.
Yeah.
So now Jacob leaves, and he doesn't have much. Later he says, I left with the staff in my hand. He's got a stick, more or less. But he has something more important now. He's got the word of God, the promise of God that's stuffed in his back pocket.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
I mean, what better gift, provision could you have for your journey than that? So Jacob leaves, and to kind of pick up the story, he gets to where he's going. He gets to where his mother's relatives live. I mean, it's a long journey. And he finds some shepherds. They're waiting to water their sheep. Yeah. And I love this scene because it opens up to us a new side of Jacob, a more human side
Yeah,
of Jacob.
It does. Yeah.
Because in his conversations with these shepherds, he asked them if they know Laban.
Mm-hmm.
Now Laban is his mom's brother, so this is his uncle. So you happen to know Laban? And the shepherds are like, yeah, everybody knows Laban. You know, Laban's kind of a shady character himself, but everybody knows Laban. And they're like, hey, speaking of which, now here comes his daughter.
Yeah.
She's a shepherdess, right? Here comes Rachel.
Yeah.
So Jacob sees this young lady coming.
Yeah.
She's very beautiful. I mean, she's not just cute. She's not just pretty. She is like strikingly gorgeous. Today what we would say, she's like a model, because there's very few women that are described this way, where she's beautiful of form, that is her body, and then a face. So she's got a nice body, she's got a beautiful face. And of course, Jacob sees this. And he also sees that she's his relative. So when she shows up,
There's a chance.
yeah. So when she shows up, he's just like smitten.
Yeah.
He comes up, and in kind of a humorous verse, he embraces her, kisses her, and then he starts crying. Which I always point out to any single male members who are listening to this story. Not a good move for dating purposes. If you kiss the girl and start crying, it's probably not going to end
Not a good first
successfully.
impression.
Not a good first impression. Now in Jacob's case, hey, it worked out.
Yeah, it
You know,
did. Yeah.
different cultures, different dating practices. So he's made it. He ends up meeting Laban. Laban welcomes him in. He lives with them for a little bit, and Laban says more or less, I'll give you a job. You just tell me what your wages are.
Yeah,
What do you want?
Let's cut a deal.
Yeah, let's cut a deal. Mm-hmm. So Jacob says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll work for you if you give me Rachel as my wife. And Laban says, well, I'd rather she marry you than anybody else, so let's do it. We'll shake on it. You work for me 7 years, and then your paycheck at the end of those 7 years will be that I will allow you to marry Rachel. So, deal. And then we find out another side of Jacob, because we're told that when he worked those 7 years,
Yeah.
he loved her so much. He loved
Yeah,
Rachel
yeah.
so much that it was just like a few days to him. So for all of the ugly sides of Jacob, there's also this very likable side of
Kind of
him.
soft, tender.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I have always appreciated about him, because when you first meet him, you're like, God, this guy is a jerk.
Yeah, right.
He
Yeah.
he's out for himself. He's driven by ambition.
Yeah.
Like, who could like him? And then you see this side of him, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, well, all right. I see there's
He's
some.
coming around.
He's coming around.
Yeah, yeah.
So he works for 7 years. They go by in a hurry to Jacob. It's time for the wedding. He comes to Laban and says, hey, let's get this done. I've been waiting 7 years.
Yeah. Pay up.
Pay up. So they have a grand feast, and weddings now are kind of like weddings then. You had a lot of food. You had a lot to drink.
Yeah.
And chances are Jacob probably had too much to drink that particular night, a few too many spirits. So he gets...
Could have been intentional.
Could have been intentional. Yep. So he goes into the tent with
Yeah.
what he thinks is his bride.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be the wedding night. It's going to be the moment he's been waiting for 7 years. What he doesn't know, we're told, as the readers of his story, is that right before this, Laban, who is now, he's been his uncle and his boss, and now he's going to also be his father-in-law. What Laban has done, Laban being quite the deceiver himself, he's made a switcheroo. And he's taken the older sister, whose name is Leah, and he has switched her as the bride. So Jacob, it was dark. He probably had too much to drink.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that he's actually consummating the marriage with the wrong sister. Until he wakes up in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's this beautiful, very brief biblical description, we're told. And in the morning, behold, it was Leah. It's like, there's really nothing else that needs to be said. You can see the whole scene.
That was a sobering thought, wasn't it?
Yes, not quite the wake-up vision that Jacob had anticipated. Well, he's upset, obviously. He kind of has a row with his father-in-law now about everything. And Laban comes across as such a greasy kind of guy. He's like, oh, I thought you realized that in our culture, this is the way it works. I mean, we're not going to marry off the younger sister before we marry off the older sister. I just assumed you realized this the entire time. So they cut another deal. Laban's like, listen, you want to marry her? Okay. We'll celebrate for the first week with Leah, and then we'll have another marriage, another wedding, and then we can celebrate your marriage to the other sister. Yeah. And now you have two sisters, two wives. Sister wives. What's Jacob going to say? No. I mean, he's worked 7 years to have Rachel, so he's like, okay, I guess that's what
got to do. What I got to do.
Yes, that's what we'll do. So these 7 years, and then really the next 7 years, we learn later were just difficult times because Laban is constantly changing his wages. He is trying to make basically Jacob's life as miserable as he can. And we don't learn this until later when Jacob's recounting all this, but it must have been a really rough time. He's out there in the heat and the cold doing the work of a shepherd. We know that there's growing problems in his family, which you don't have to be a prophet to realize there's going to be growing problems in a family when you've married two women who are sisters, who end up being in a baby-making competition. Pretty soon they invite their female servants into the marriage bed. Now he's married basically to 4 women. I like to say he has 2 wives and 2 co-wives. Yeah. So now he's fathering children with 4 different women, some more than others.
And it's a competition.
It's a competition.
For favor and status.
Yes. And Leah, the unloved wife, she has 4 sons just right away. The impression you get is like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Yeah. We don't know for sure, but it's like she had this son, all right, she's pregnant again, has another son, pregnant again. And the first 3 are really heartbreaking because the names that she gives to them all are basically expressing the fact that she's trying to win her husband's love. Yeah. Which, in any culture, any age, that's sad. Like,
it is.
When you have, it doesn't matter if it's the husband or the wife, they're doing everything they can to win the affections of their spouse. Yeah. Well, that's what she's doing, and of course it's going nowhere. Until she finally decides the 4th son is Judah. And she kind of switches there because she gives him a name that means praise. Yeah. Yeah, so he's the praise son. He's the 4th born son. And I like to say, if you could sit down with Leah, go back in time, sit with her, say, hey, let's talk. I know you're in an unhappy marriage. I know there's a lot of things that are far from perfect here. Yeah. But let me tell you what's going to happen. Much later down the road, your son, Judah, is going to have his own family. He's going to have his own tribe. And from that tribe, God is going to select a man named David. And from David's family, within that tribe of Judah, eventually is going to come the one that we've all been waiting for. The promised seed, the servant of God, the Messiah is going to come from the tribe of Judah. So Leah, from your tribe, from your offspring, not your sisters, but from your offspring, will come the one who is the Savior of the entire human race. I think if you could tell Leah that, then probably a smile would erupt on her face because she would realize that in the bigger perspective of God's design for salvation history, it wasn't Rachel that was chosen. It was Leah and her line that was chosen to be the one from whom would come the Savior of the world. Yeah. So we see God's plan that's working out, even in the life of this family that is probably worthy of a reality TV show today.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. And it's just beautiful how God picks, God uses Leah, the one that's not loved, the one that's, thrown in the mix of it by her father, and how the Christ child comes through that.
Yes.
A beautiful thought.
It is. And on that same line, when Jacob dies, much later, of course, in the land of Egypt, he's going to be buried next to Leah, not to Rachel.
Oh yeah.
Kind of another tidbit there that's worthy of reflection. Rachel is buried on the way to Bethlehem. She dies in childbirth with Benjamin.
Yep.
But Leah's buried in the family tomb, and Jacob is going to be buried next to her. So,
I hadn't thought of it. That's
God kind of brings everything together in that sort of way.
Yeah.
So
there's a little bit. Even the wives now are saying, "Man, Dad's not doing us right. It's time to buckle up and get our luggage and head out of here. Things are not good for us. We can start another life somewhere else."
Yeah, they decided it's time to go home.
Yeah.
It's been a while. They did the 14 years for the two wives. 6 more years, so we're at the 20-year mark. Mm-hmm. And so they all decide basically together, hey, let's go back. So they do. They're a little bit skittish about Laban, and so they wait till he's away shearing sheep, which was a big deal then. A lot of work, a lot of kind of party celebrations. So he's off doing that. And they basically under cover of night, you might say.
They want to get a head start.
They pack up the U-Haul and they head back west toward the promised land. Laban finds out, of course, and he pursues them. And just kind of wrapping up that stage in the story, Laban and Jacob, they kind of have a fight. Mm-hmm. I like to picture them, they're in each other's face. They're both lobbing accusations back and forth. But they do make basically a pact. Mm-hmm. They make an agreement.
They did.
We're good. You go your way, I'll go my way. I'll take care of your daughters. And so they reconcile in a way. They make an agreement, and then they go their separate ways. Now, so we've covered kind of the first 2 segments of Jacob's life. The third segment is him coming home. Yeah. Which is in many ways, for me, the most interesting for so many different reasons. Number one, you have the most famous scene by far from Jacob's life, and this is the wrestling scene, the wrestling and limping scene. But then immediately on the heels of that, you also have his reunion with his brother after 20 years. So the scene, I could talk for hours about the wrestling scene, but I'll sum it up really briefly, hit the high points. It's really the mirror image, you might say, of the beginning of his exile. The beginning of his exile is when you have Jacob alone at night, and God appears to him. Now, the end of the exile, Jacob is once more alone. He sent his family across the river. He's alone. It's at night, and God appears to him. Except this appearance is much more violent and physical than the first. This mysterious figure who's called 3 things in Scripture. He's called a man. He's called a messenger. Hosea refers to him as a messenger. And then he's called God. Man, messenger, God. This mysterious figure appears and takes Jacob down. They wrestle all night. Now, we don't have time to develop all of this, but I argue that this figure who's the man, God, and the messenger is actually the Son of the Father. Mm-hmm. This is one of many appearances of Christ in the Old Testament.
Theophany.
That's a theophany, where Christ is appearing in the form of a man. This is before his incarnation, but he's appearing temporarily in the form of a man in order to wrestle Jacob. And boy, do they wrestle, back and forth all night. And there's not like a clear winner here. Mm-hmm. So at one point, I'll just say Jesus kind of messes his hip up, right? Dislocates his hip. And Jacob still won't let go. At this point, you got to admire Jacob.
You did.
I mean, he will not stop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his personality. He's not a quitter.
No.
He's going to hang on. He's going to fight. I mean, if somebody dislocates my hip, I'm going to cry uncle, right?
Yeah.
There's no crying uncle with Jacob. He's hanging on. and he won't let him go until he blesses him. He wants a blessing, which is actually a beautiful thing. You know, he manipulated a blessing from his father by lying and deception. Yeah. Now he's asking the one that he clearly has figured out by this point is divine for a blessing. Good for Jacob. And so we have this exchange where Jesus says to him, "What's your name?" And I like to think that Jacob kind of sheepishly says, "Jacob," because it means not just heal, but it also has this sense of kind of tripping someone up. Jacob.
Do you think that was kind of a confession of?
Kind of a confession of sorts. Yes, yeah. You might say, "I'm the Jacob who Jacobs. I'm the heel who heals in the HEE sense. I trip up someone's heel. I'm Jacob." And Jesus says to him, "Not anymore. I'm going to give you a new name, and this new name is Israel." Israel means God fighter, the one who fights struggles with God. He says, "Because you've striven with God and with men, and you've prevailed."
Yeah, love it.
Which is just shocking. You fight God and you win? How? Well, there's only one way. And every dad or granddad knows this.
Yeah.
If you get down on the floor and you wrestle with your grandkids, you're not a very good dad or granddad if you don't let the kids win on occasion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? You got to let them win, even though you could beat them every time. You let them win.
Yeah.
God let Jacob win. Just like if you fast forward from that scene to the ministry of Jesus, he lets us win. He lets us pin him actually to the cross itself.
Yeah.
God willingly and graciously loses his own life in order that we might win. Win a blessing, win a new name. We're no longer estranged, but we're part of the family of God. We're no longer just filled full of sin and shame. Now we're forgiven. We're cleansed.
Beautiful.
We're Christians as a result of God being willing to lose in order that the people he loves so much could win what he wanted to give to us. Now, I don't want to say but now, when he leaves that, he does leave with a limp. That's one of the things about divine encounters. You yourself know this. When you have this divine encounter, it changes you.
It does.
Yeah. Now, maybe all of us don't have a wound or a limp that we can show, but it's there.
We've got scars somewhere.
We got scars somewhere. You know, maybe it's a scar in our soul. Maybe it's an unseen limp that we have, but it's there. Yeah. And that's a good thing because it reminds us to be a good manager or steward of that in order to use the grace that we've received from God in our woundedness, in our limping, as a way of being a blessing to others. Paul says this perfectly in 2 Corinthians 1, where he says that we comfort others with the same comfort that we ourselves have been comforted by God.
That's good.
Yeah, so that's the whole limping scene with Jacob. And the next day is his reunion with his brother.
Yeah, this is when it's really getting real. So he's back to scheming again now. Yeah. He's had this encounter with God, wrestled with God, got a new name, turned over a new leaf. God has manifested himself in a wonderful way to him. And here he is. He's got a strategy here, doesn't he? He's kind of making himself out maybe more than he is, to impress his brother or intimidate his brother. But yeah, run that down for us.
Yeah, he's came up with a plan, and if you know anything about Jacob, you realize he's definitely a planner. He's a planner, or you choose your words, schemer, plotter, or whatever it is. He's not going to walk into a situation.
He's got an angle.
He's got an angle, and his angle here is he sent all of these groups of animals and servants ahead of him. He's found out his brother is coming with 400 men, which, for obviously scares him. Would have scared any of us. Is he coming to kill us, to attack us? What's he coming to do? So Jacob wants to curry favor with his brother. And so he sends all these gifts ahead. This group, and each of them are to say basically the same thing. These are a gift from your servant, Jacob, not your brother, but your servant, Jacob. So by the time that Esau finally shows up, Jacob's hoping it softened his heart a little bit. What Jacob didn't realize is that in the 20 years that have elapsed since their last parting, Esau's heart softened a long time ago.
Yeah,
He's not out for blood.
Yeah.
And the reason we see that is because as soon as they get close to each other, Esau doesn't stand there with his arms crossed, waiting for Jacob to come and grovel before him. He runs to meet him.
Yeah, beautiful.
And a scene reminiscent of the parable of the prodigal son, where you have the father running to embrace his son. Esau runs and embraces Jacob, and they weep. These two brothers weep over each other. It's one of the most moving scenes in the entire scriptures. Yeah. And then they disengage, and Esau's like, "Well, who are these?" So Jacob introduces his whole family, and they kind of they reconnect, and it's a wonderful scene. It's not what you would have expected might happen.
No.
Given
You think blood
Yes.
is going to be spilt.
Yes, thinks blood can be spilled, but it's not. Instead there's a good reunion and there's forgiveness. Now, there's kind of a surprise that follows that is important to mention too. So, Esau basically says, "Come home with me." Why not? I mean, at this point, Esau has done
good.
well for himself. Yeah, we're good. I've got a place. It's down south of the Dead Sea. It's in what came to be called Edom. So it's also known as Seir, S-E-I-R. And Esau says, "Come on, let's come home with me, and we can, spend some time together, reconnect. I got a place you can stay." And Jacob says, "Oh, love the idea, but we got the livestock, we got the kids, so you go on ahead, and we'll catch up." Esau's like, "Well, okay, but let me at least leave some of my guys here with you, just protect you, make sure everything's okay." And Jacob's like, no, really, thank you, but we're good." It's like, "All right, well, we'll see you there." And Jacob's like, "All right, we'll see you there." And in true Jacob fashion, Esau no sooner gets over the hill than Jacob turns and says, "All right, everybody, pack up. We're going north." So Jacob has deceived his brother twice. I think that's the best way to say it. He deceived him the first time, and now he said to his brother, "Yeah, we're coming to see you down south."
Yeah.
As soon as he's gone, Jacob says, "Actually, we're going north."
Yeah.
They had a great reunion, but
They did.
Jacob still doesn't trust his brother. Jacob.
Now, if I'm Esau at this point, I've forgiven him and reconciled with him, and my brother's lying to me again.
Yes.
And of course, nothing happened, but I would think I'm going to go back with, instead of 400, I'm going to have 800.
Yes.
I'm going to take care of that boy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm going to teach him a lesson once and for all. Yeah. This is one of these blanks in the Bible that I wish we knew more. I would love to have a extra chapter in Genesis that describes Esau's reaction when he's looking. They're not here yet. Day passes, not here yet. A week passes, they haven't showed up yet. And then eventually he's going to find out, I guess they're just not coming. Yeah. But I like to put it this way. Jacob is now Israel. He's received this new name.
Yeah.
But he's also still Jacob.
Yeah, I like that.
He's Jacob, and he's Israel. He's the God fighter, and he's the heel, just all mixed together. He's what?
Sinner saint.
He's a sinner saint.
Yeah.
He's just like every Christian. We're saints. The New Testament calls us that over and over. We are those sanctified by the Spirit. And we're also still sinners who are still pulled toward the ungodly ways. We're Jacob and we're Israel in our own person. So that's a reason the Christian life never gets to the point where it's easy. Because war isn't easy. Battles aren't easy. The inner civil war we all experience isn't easy. It's what Paul describes in Romans 7, where the good I want to do, I don't do. The evil I don't want to do, well, that's what I keep on doing. He's like, this isn't what he says, but more or less, what's wrong with me? right?
Right.
Who's going to rescue me? And that's when he has this great line, thanks be to God, through Jesus Christ. He is our only rescuer because he's the only one who comes and is able to clothe us in his righteousness and to forgive our sins and to say, yeah, you're still Jacob, but I love you. You're my Israel. Yeah, you're still a sinner, but you're a saint, and I love you. And we'll make sure that you're with me where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they get back to the land. I think you called your last part. Of course, he was such a great father. He knew how to treat everybody equally.
Yes.
And he had no favorites whatsoever, did he?
Right.
And so we really from that experience, it seems like it starts going downhill again and again, all the way to the end of Genesis until we see the revelation of Joseph to his brothers.
Yeah, it's one of the unique features of Jacob's story. There never is kind of a leveling out, where he kind of, moves to Florida and enjoys life in retirement. It never happens for Jacob. No, they get back, there's issues. One of his daughters is raped. There's all kinds of problems there and that's problems with his sons too. And then he makes the same generational mistake. His parents showed favoritism. Well, now Jacob, not having learned his lesson, he picks out his favorite. It's going to be Joseph, who, of course, is the son of the loved wife, Rachel. So, and he makes sure everybody knows this already, right? Everybody knows who the favorite is in any family. But he makes sure that everyone's going to know by getting this coat of many colors and putting, basically daddy's favorite on this robe that he gives to him. And this, of course, is going to lead conflicts with his brothers. And the Joseph story is its own story. The book I'm writing now actually is on the Joseph and Judah story. So that's where I'm at right now in my writing days.
When is this coming out?
That will probably be out in 27 is what I'm guessing. Yeah, it'll take me another 6 to 8 months to write it, then about a year to go through the editing process and all of that. But it'll be a follow-up to the book we're talking about now. Yeah.
Okay.
So we kind of leave aside the Joseph story, but basically, Joseph gets betrayed by his brothers. He's sold into slavery because they're not just jealous of Joseph. I mean, they hate him. So this is a deep-seated antagonism. This isn't your ordinary fraternal strife between brothers.
Yeah.
This is, they want to kill him. It's that bad.
His dreams were irritating to him.
Very irritating to him, yeah.
Even irritated his father.
Yeah, the dreams basically said everybody's going to bow down to me, right?
Me too.
Yeah, even Jacob's
like, you too, Dad.
Me too, yes. Yeah, it's very irritating. And so they see an opportunity to get rid of him, and so they do. And it's Judah's idea to sell him into slavery. Judah's one comes up with the plan to do that.
Yeah.
So Joseph, he basically goes down into Egypt. Several chapters are filled up with everything happens to him there. And Joseph's story can be summed up real simple. It's down, 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 down to the very bottom. The word in Hebrew used to describe where he ends up being in prison is the pit, which is also a word used to describe a grave. I mean, he's like all the way down. Until, through God's providence, he is pulled up immediately in this resurrection kind of scene, and he ends up being at the right hand of Pharaoh. So while all that's going on, you got to keep in mind that Jacob thinks Joseph is dead.
Yeah.
The sons get back. They have taken Joseph's robe. They've slaughtered a goat, sprinkled blood on it. And so, of course, it looks like he's been attacked by a wild beast. And now Jacob's favorite son, Joseph, is dead. And so Jacob is just torn to pieces. You kind of get the impression that he doesn't think he's going to get past this. Yeah. The grief is so great and so deep that he says, I'm going to go down mourning to Sheol for my son. So who knows how long that intense grief lasted in his life.
It seemed to be a long period of time.
It seemed to be a long period of time, yeah. We meet him next, so that the last scene with Jacob is that one where you have him grieving so deeply. And then it shifts to Joseph in a short chapter about Judah too. But when next we meet him, he's aged. Quite a few years have gone by, over a decade. And so he's aged, and now there's a famine. And he almost comes across as like a get off my lawn, grumpy old man. Because he says to his brothers and to his sons, why are you sitting staring at each other? Go do something. Go down to Egypt and get us some food. I mean, he kind of comes across as gruff and hardened. Mm-hmm. And, well, he's gone through a lot at this point. He's well over 100 years old at this point. So that's the kind of the beginning of where the story picks up, where the brothers go down to buy grain, and they have to appear before what I call the vice pharaoh of Egypt. And unbeknownst to them, the vice pharaoh of Egypt is none other than their long-lost, betrayed brother Joseph, who now has completely been Egyptianized in the sense of he speaks their language, he shaved his head, he's wearing the official garb. There's nothing about him that would have been recognizable to the brothers, but he recognizes them.
Yes,
and we're told they bowed down before him, and that Joseph remembered the dreams that he had. Well, there's a back and forth between the brothers. The brothers are accused of being spies. One of them ends up having to stay behind. Simeon, Joseph sends the brothers and says, basically, don't come back unless you bring that youngest brother that you've claimed that you have, which of course is Benjamin. Joseph's full brother. Yeah. So they go back, and Jacob doesn't want to let Benjamin go.
Of course.
Yeah, Jacob shifted his preference for Joseph to Benjamin now. Mm-hmm. So he's the most loved, and he's afraid he's going to lose him. He's kind of becoming very controlling. Yeah. You know, I think as we age, we have more fears and maybe try and control things more. Yeah. And you see that definitely in Jacob's life. The fears that he's having now are some intense fears, and so he doesn't want to let go. It's only really through Judah's influence that he finally lets Benjamin go with the rest of them into Egypt. And that's where you have finally this emotional scene where after Judah gives this fantastic speech, at the end of which he offers to take the place of Benjamin. Let me be the sacrifice for Benjamin. Remember that Judah was the one who came up with the idea of selling Joseph. So Judah has done a 180. Mm-hmm. He's a different person now. Yeah. And as soon as Judah says, let me be the substitute, that's when Joseph just loses it. Yeah. Breaks down, sends everybody out, and reveals who he really is to his brothers. And they have this reunion again, just like Jacob and Esau. There's reunion between these brothers now, in which there's reconciliation. And Joseph says, more or less, you meant this evil. You meant this as evil against me, but this was all part of God's plan. He sent me down here to preserve all this life through all the work that I've been doing these last 7+ years. And the story wraps up with the brothers getting back, and it's like a group. As a group, they tell Dad, guess what? Guess who is not only alive, but ruling Egypt? It's Joseph. Yeah. And there's a phrase in Hebrew which basically is like his heart grew numb. It's like he had a heart attack. He was so shocked. And then he revived, and he said, it's enough. Joseph is alive. I will go and see him before I die. Jacob didn't care that Joseph was ruler of Egypt. Yeah. He just cared that his son was alive. Yeah. And that's kind of where the book of Genesis begins to close out, where everybody then goes down into Egypt. Jacob's reunited with Joseph. Joseph provides for his family. They're all taken care of. His brothers are given jobs, government jobs. They're working for Pharaoh. Right. He puts them in a good part of the land and continues to take care of them.
Yeah, the story there, it's just such a rich story of God's redemption, God's grace, and I've always loved the Old Testament stories, and of course Jacob and Joseph. You get into more of that, and just the messed up lives that they lived, much like lives today. Family dynamics.
Yes.
Man, you don't want to put that out there with this particular family, but through all of that, God's just grace, God's continual hand, instead of just tossing them aside. He continued to work with them in their sin and their rebellion, and all of the things that they did wrong. Well, just maybe wrap it up for us, give us a little wrap up on this, and I appreciate it.
Yeah,
That's very good stuff here, Chad.
Yeah, I think you said it well, that we see in these messed up lives of every single character. I mean, Joseph is often held up as this paragon, but he has his problems. Right?
Yeah.
All the brothers have the problems. Jacob has problems. We all do. And yet, we're loved by God. We're forgiven by God in Jesus Christ. And he doesn't give us like a second chance or a third chance or a fourth chance. He's the kind of God that every single time we come to him and confess our sins, he's ready and willing to forgive. He's a God of grace and mercy and compassion. And we see that in the life of Jacob. We see that in the lives of all these biblical characters in our own life, as well as disciples who limp along and are sustained over and over for our entire life's journey by the grace and mercy of God in Christ.
Amen. The book again is Limping with God, Chad Bird, and grab a copy of this. Order multiple copies. Give it to your friends, ministers, and it'll be a blessing to people. And appreciate you, Chad.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so
Ken.
much, man.
Yeah, it was a joy.